All right, let's see what's going on. I don't know what's happening today. That's crazy. Let's see.
There we go. Just hopped over. There we are live on your channel.
Sounds good. Something must have been glitchy. I don't know what went on, but like I said, this is the first time this has happened to me. But things do happen, when it comes to technology.
You know what it was, AJ? There was just so many people trying to join on, and we just blocked all the servers. They all went down.
Exactly. Exactly. All right, everyone. I want to introduce my YouTube friend Ripley from Expedition Homestead. It's a pleasure to meet him. He had touched base with me through a email. You know how it is nowadays. You think emails are scams. So I fished for some answers. He told me he was legit. Phone calls were exchanged, and we set up this meeting to collab. And I want to thank you, Ripley, for taking time out to do this. He's been on YouTube for many years. I'll let him introduce himself, but he has over 55,000 subscribers. When we're done with this collaboration, please take time out to check out his channel. If you like what you're hearing from him, subscribe. We're going to touch base on homesteading, some things about YouTube, and any other questions that might arise through this live stream. Mm-hmm. So welcome aboard, Ripley. Go ahead. Sure. The floor is all yours.
Yeah, AJ, thank you so much for having me on the channel. I really appreciate it. We had a really good conversation that first time after we talked about a lot of different things. So it was really cool to see that we have a lot of interest in common, especially when it comes to YouTube gardening, and then as well as our spiritual lives too. So that was really sweet to kind of dive into that a little bit as well. As you introduced, I've been doing YouTube for about 6 years. I think I've got about 450 videos on there. I've been married for 7 years. We've got 3 kids, 3 wonderful kids, 5 years old, 2 years old, and 1 year old. And, that is just a blast to have them and to be raising kids. Being a father is something that I just can't express how incredibly blessed we are to have those sort of experiences in life. And I think at a young age, it can be very difficult and it can be stressful, especially when, I've got my regular 9-to-5 job. We try and run a business on the side, and then as well as doing YouTube and raising kids and being very active in our community and with other people as well. Life is busy, but it's all these little experiences that kind of make up the wonderful collage of stories that we call life. And it is just such a blessing. I think YouTube has been really incredible for that, and has been something that really turned into a future that I wasn't expecting to have in my life, and a future that I wasn't really, I wasn't planning for either. But I think God has taken it and is turning it into something that's really going to be so beneficial to a lot of different people. The reason why I kind of got into YouTube in the first place was that as a kid, I was homeschooled for many years. I went to Wisconsin virtual academies online. And that gave me a lot of free time to learn, to expand, and to grow in different ways that I wanted to, not just what the books told me to, but I had a lot of time to find resources online, to learn things online, different skills, different trades, different life attributes that we could really use in the future. I spent a lot of the time researching stuff like that. And hence, YouTube was a big part of that. So as I was growing up, YouTube was really, really a teacher for me, really was a way that I could go and learn about a lot of different things that I wasn't going to be able to learn from anybody else, just because I didn't have the connections around me. I was in a smaller town just outside of Marshfield, Wisconsin, called Arpin. And really, I think the population right now is probably sitting around like 900 or 1,200 people, and didn't have too many friends that lived in Arpin. A lot of my friends lived in Marshfield. So it was like, at the time, I couldn't drive. So biking to Marshfield was hour and a half, hour and 45-minute ordeal.
Okay.
So getting to see my friends all the time wasn't really an option. So I did spend a ton of time outside, a ton of time learning online. And that's kind of how I started to realize, there is a big potential for people who teach on YouTube. There's a big information gap for us to fill as humans in whatever sort of thing that our passion is driven by. So if you've got a hobby that you love doing that you could probably not ever run out of content with, if you're a mechanic, it's going to be a little bit more expensive than gardening, but you could probably make videos on that forever.
That's right.
If you're a gardener, you are never going to run out of content to put online, right?
Yeah.
And so I took this and kind of realized that, I do want to be a teacher. I do want to see other people learn and grow. I want to be somebody that people can look up to, and I want to leave a legacy behind. I want to leave a generational legacy for my kids, their friends, and generations to come, that, it's going to be a positive attribute in their lives. And in turn, it's going to create a Ripley that is out there striving to grow, striving to learn, striving to build things, because growing up, that was a huge part of my life. I always wanted to be working on something. I wanted to be building something. I wanted to grow and expand. God has instilled this ambition in me that is almost just never ending and constantly going. And that can be hard sometimes, because it makes me want to do as much as I can. And sometimes you can't be all things at one time. You can't be all things that you want to do at one time. It takes step after step after step. And I have learned that on YouTube through these last 6 years. It does take a lot of time, a lot of steps to get there. And it's a constant build. But I've got that insane drive in me. And I think my parents had a very big part in that. They were always very strongly encouraging of what I set out to do. They always said, Ripley, you are going to be able to take whatever you want, and you are going to be able to turn that into something that will grow the way you would like it to, something that's going to expand and succeed. You will succeed at whatever you put your heart to, and whatever you allow God to lead you through in your life as well. And so I've really reflected on that all the time in my life. And I think that's part of why I've been okay and been doing well on YouTube, is that I just strive for building this thing. And I want to see such a strong community, a generational legacy being left behind when it comes to gardening, because you look at gardening overall, the state of gardening, and I think, unfortunately, it's slowly becoming something that is getting phased out by the mainstream. A lot of people are starting to do less gardening in their backyards, less gardening for their own sustenance and their own provision. And more and more people are relying just on the supermarket route. You can go to the store and buy vegetables for honestly cheaper than it's going to cost me to make them in my own backyard. If you're gardening for a financial reason, strictly financial, unless you get a really big garden, and eventually we'll get there on our homestead. But unless you're growing on a really big garden, financially, it is going to cost more to produce food at home. But finances is only just one tiny little part of what we do, and one tiny part of the reason why we do it. And so don't just look for those financial reasons behind it, because gardening is so big. But getting a little bit off topic.
Oh, you're fine.
But I see that people are slowly turning away towards that. But thankfully, internet, YouTube, being connected through these technological devices, it does help us a lot in terms of how far we're able to spread this, and how we're able to share the gardening message, share the message of what it does in our lives, how it affects us, how it affects the people around us, our mental well-being. There's this just tree, this web of things that come as a byproduct of gardening to you, me, to the people around us, to the viewers, so many other people. Hopefully you all realize that it is so much more than just for a financial reason. And I think the more we can provide for ourselves, the more we can provide for the people around us and the communities around us, the better, the closer we're going to be as human beings. Because if you look even even 60 years ago, 50 years ago, a lot more people were sharing food with each other.
Yeah.
That they grew, that they took that hard work and sweat, that elbow grease, that grew themselves and shared with each other compared to what they do now. And I think just that alone means a whole lot more as a community and as neighbors and friends than just finances and just money. So
Yeah.
Gardening, all being said, gardening is an absolute passion of mine. I think it has a much bigger significance in our lives than a lot of people attribute to it. And that's why I started this YouTube channel. And it's been a hard grind, and it takes a lot of work. It really does. And as we talked about on the phone, right now, homegrown does taste better. I absolutely believe that.
Yeah, it
does taste better. And generally, a lot of times homegrown food also has higher nutritional values to it as well, because we're able to inoculate a lot of great things in the soil. We're able to create living soil that in turn feeds those vegetables better, feeds those fruit better than a field that is 1,000 acres of one crop destroying the soil or whatever you want to buy at the grocery store.
Mm-hmm.
That does make a difference, and that is a big reason behind it. But AJ, we were talking about on the phone earlier. One of the big transitions that I think we're being called to now is to start building these communities, because I've grinded through 6 years of YouTube, making a bunch of videos, trying to do a lot of very well professional edited videos, taking a lot of time. But I think that there's something missing in this channel. There's something missing with the people around me and our community and our neighbors. And it's just that connection that we can have together. Yeah. So over the next year, the next 2 years, and forever, my future, I think that is what we're being called to, is to build these connections in our community, in our schools, and the people around us, more so than ever before. And by far more than I've ever tried to go for. I've never really reached for that or striven for that. But I think now we've got this backbone built. We've got this base of the channel built. We've got a lot of evergreen content out there. So now we're able to go out and focus on some of these core values that we need to build up, that is really going to help the people around us, are not only just close by neighbors and friends and family, but this community effort can be driven around the world through YouTube and what we're doing. So that's really what we're trying to build here now over the next few years. And that's kind of why I reached out to you, is because I wanted to connect communities together. I want to see passions grow. I want to see people grow in their passion for gardening and how they experiment with gardening, their overall aspect and their theology behind what gardening is in their life as well. I think is something that really God has put on my heart so hard over the past few weeks, like never before. And so that is where we're at right now in a quick nutshell. I know I went on for about 13 minutes here. Man, I absolutely love it. And I hope all you guys love it too, because it is just an incredible time on YouTube. Before we move on to the next portion of speaking, whatever you want to call it, I did talk a little bit earlier about, if you've got a passion that you enjoy and you can never imagine running out of topics, start a YouTube channel today. You got to start a YouTube channel today. Start building your community, because no matter who you are, there's some more people out there like you. There's billions of people in this world, baby. You're telling me you can't get a few thousand people to follow you, to support you, to build as a community? You can absolutely do it through YouTube. So I just encourage you guys, if you're listening right now and that sounds like it's you, today's the day. But understand, it's going to take a little bit of time. It's going to take a lot of hard work and dedication. It's going to take a lot of failures. It's going to take a lot of stumbling, but you will get there through that hard work, dedication, and consistency. Consistency is a big part of YouTube. If you can stay consistent, you can engage with people, then ultimately no matter how long it takes,
Mhm.
you're going to be successful. Whatever that word success means to you, you can reach it. Whatever you're actually trying to manifest and to build in this world, you can do it. All right.
That's right. No, I agree. I agree with you 100%. So the thing about me, you never know who subscribes to your channel, you know, and when you called me and we touched base, you said you subscribed to my channel, you checked out videos and things. Okay. What 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 from my video, what interests you to subscribe to my channel?
Mhm.
Because before you start, I had a lot of things on my channel. Okay. I started out, I had like money, how to grow on YouTube, because I didn't know what the heck I was doing, but I started, but now I just niche down to gardening and worms. Okay. I used to do a lot of worms, but I'm niching to garden because I want to do more. I just don't want to talk about worms. For me, I don't want to bore people, because sometimes you get bored of hearing repetitive things. But what was your interest that made you check my channel and become a subscriber?
Sure. So for whatever reason, I was going to bring up your channel here really quick. Whatever reason, YouTube decided the grand old algorithm. I was searching up worm bins. I made a worm bin video. I don't know how long ago it was. Must have been like a year and a half ago ish. And one of your videos came up. And so it didn't have very many views. I don't care about views. I don't care about any of that stuff, because when I clicked on that video, you gave me some real content. You gave me some real conversation, some real talking points, some different ways that were very engaging. If I was just standing right there, you and me as a friend, you gave me some good advice, some solid advice about how I can grow these worms better than a lot of people tell you out there online. And you also conveyed a message of simplicity, a very direct message that was absolutely real when it came to that. And that's why I checked out your channel. I saw, dude, you've got like over 500 videos.
Yeah.
Right? You got a ton of videos on there. And so that's when I subscribed at that point.
Awesome.
And then I've been popping in every once in a while. I don't get a whole lot of time, honestly, to spend on YouTube, just because of how busy life is right now.
Right, I understand.
But I absolutely, I checked out your channel and I'm like, man, this guy is all about his worms and his composting and his living soil. And that's what I'm all about too, is I haven't made enough videos about it, but as far as understanding the importance of soil and how we build that soil, you got it. And that's why I hopped over there and followed you on YouTube. So I recommend all of my viewers, if you're watching this at some point, check out AJ's channel if you're really into worms or composting, any of that stuff. He's like, honestly, one of the best for that type of content, because there's just a plethora of information that you could get to. Whether it be you're making your worm bin, or you've got a problem with different too high of levels, ammonia levels, you're composting in that worm bin, all that stuff. You've got videos on just about everything when it comes to it. Actually, you even got a video on do worms bite, right? So all kinds of stuff, man. And so that's why it brought me over to your channel and I subscribed. I love the realness that I got from you. And I think viewers appreciate that too. They really do. And the weird thing about YouTube and how it recommends videos and who ends up seeing it in the long run is this algorithm is so dominant.
Yeah.
I had a video just the other day about lavender propagation. I got 1,400 views within a couple of hours.
Oh wow!
And then you see this line straight up to the sky, baby, and then all the straight sideways. The algorithm is like, nope, we've had enough of that. You're good. We'll pull the trigger. This guy got his moment of fame. It's not going to be a 100,000 view video. You're stuck there at 1,400 views, baby, and that's what it was. And so that is the reason why it's so important that we start building communities of people.
That's right.
Building something a little bit more than just these videos of information, because yes, it is so great that we've got to provide our viewers with information in every single video. We've got to give them a reason to come back. We've got to give them some love. We got to show them what they're really looking for. But having that community is a big part of that. We can only rely on that algorithm so much because of instances like that, where they'll just shoot you right up and then straight sideways because it's all in their control. But what they can't control is the real people who are clicking your videos because they know you, because they like you, because they love you, they appreciate the videos that you're putting out there. Right?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. I mean, thank you for that, the kind words and stuff. Yeah, I try to keep it original, and I don't sugarcoat stuff. I don't read scripts. I just speak from my heart. This is how I roll. I'm just more comfortable like that. If I stumble on my ums and these, sometimes it happens, but I'm working on public speaking all the time to become better. But that's definitely some great feedback, because you don't like corrective criticism sometimes, because some people don't do it out of love. And
sure, well, absolutely. I mean, absolutely out of love in my heart. I'll give you a constructive criticism right now. The one thing, just going through your channel, longer videos, make longer videos. So
okay, how long do you think? Because I don't want to.
Don't work. So if you got somebody out there who's going to watch a 13-minute video or 15-minute video or a 21-minute video, that's comparatively just as much as getting 21 or 50 or 100 views on a short 1-minute video, right? Because YouTube looks at the time that people are spending on your channel. And if you've got a passionate group of people that love you for who you are and love your content, they're going to spend the time to listen to you. Even if it's not just watching the whole video, they can listen to it as well. They can click on it. We got Cry More Tools. He loves enjoying longer videos. A lot of people I have found, if I get a longer video, even though I get less views, that's okay. YouTube's not going to show it to as many people right away. But over the long term of that video, having some nice long content, a sweet spot between 13 and 18 minutes, if you can make some good videos in that time range, that will help your channel out. Instead of the shorter, you do have some very good 33-minute videos. I see a 43-minute video, some good long ones in there. So take a look at your analytics in those videos and check out how your total watch time compares to other videos. Completely disregard the amount of views and look at how much time people are spending on that video. Let me go over to my analytics really quickly. Since we're on this topic, I think it's a good information for everybody to know. Analytics for let's see, overview, watch time. All right. So watch time over the last 28 days on this channel, we got 12.4 thousand hours of watch time, right? And YouTube is going to look at that way more than just a specific view, because if I've got 1 billion views, but only 1 million hours of watch time compared to 1 billion views and several million hours of watch time. We're talking big numbers here. But just to convey the message, if you get people spending more time learning and growing, they're not only going to get closer to you and the content that you're putting out and your personality, you can also start to share different aspects of your life in those longer videos, because those people are watching it for you. They're watching it for the words that you're preaching, the words that are coming out of your mouth and your soul. That's what they're watching for at that point. They're not those people who are looking for a very quick fix, a consumer. They're not a consumer of the content. They're a viewer. They're a participant of that content at that point, right? I'd like to say they're a participant, right? They're there with you. They want to know more about these cool little things that you've got to talk about. They want to know more about your personal life at that point, compared to somebody who just wants to get in there, get their information really quick, 30 seconds, done, got it all. I clicked through all of the chapters in the video. I got the info in my head. I'm done. I'm out of here. I don't want to use Google. I just want to use YouTube instead.
That's right.
There is so many people that are like that. I get comments on my videos all the time saying, yo, Ripley, cool video, but you never mentioned, so what temperature do I need to do this at? Or what time of year can I do it at? And I'm like, bro, you didn't even make it to 50 seconds in the video. Because I talked about that 50 seconds in the video, dude.
Excuse me.
So stuff like that. It's viewers like that you will always have, but the true relational content, I think that's where it's at, especially when it comes to gardening and just the overall view on life that I see a lot of gardeners have. I think it's a perspective that's a little bit different than most your average person, right? Because gardening takes time, it takes passion, it takes devotion, it takes resilience, because there's a lot of things that can go wrong in a garden. So those kind of attributes are something that we would like our friends to have, our community have, and the people around us to have as well. So longer content, especially when I think it comes to gardening stuff, is something that I'm working on now at this point. Okay. I'm trying to consistently make my videos longer than I feel like they should be, as long as I'm delivering some sort of story for the people to get value out of. And so I'm not just delivering these quick talking points. I'm trying to work on myself, conveying a message more so that has to relate with what we're doing in the garden, what we're doing in my life, all kinds of stuff, whatever it is that maybe comes to heart, whatever God happens to put on my heart during that day. If I can add in a couple of extra minutes of talking points, then I'll do that. And just like you, I don't script out my videos either. I don't script out my talking, because I've felt, you can tell when people do that. And their channels might be big, they might do very well, so it is very tempting. It's okay to have a couple of videos like that. If you've got one topic where you want to make a professional video on, by all means, write it down, get some very specific talking points, and treat it as a business video. That's right. But, video creators, I think it was the Video Creators podcast. I think it was Creators, with what's his name?
Videos
Channel rhymes with channel. Nick can't. What is his name?
Nick Nevin?
No.
Oh no.
I forget. I think it's Video Creators though, and he just had a video recently talking about different categories that our videos should be in. We've got to have videos focused on the views, but then we've got to also have videos focused on getting subscribers. And videos focused on building your community after that point. So that being said, there is a couple of important things that we should be including in our videos, but we cannot be afraid of talking for a little bit about something that's going on in our lives, or something that God has placed on your heart. Or, I don't know what your basis is. I don't even know what my channel's basis is on their own spiritual life, but I don't mean to offend anybody when I say God. I truly hope it doesn't offend anybody when my God is brought to my voice, because I think he works through me, and he works with me in the garden and with everything that I do. So that's why I try and convey that message as much as I possibly can, especially now recently that I am building these communities. I think it is a huge part of who I am. So, don't be afraid to talk about things that come to mind on your videos. And for everybody else who is watching, I just pray that you reflect in your time in the garden, and that you meditate, and that the time that we spend in our gardens, because it can be quite a significant amount of time during certain parts of the year. I just hope that time is good time, that time is a time of peace, that it's not a time of stress, because it is very easy to get caught up in the stress of gardening. But I mean, overall though, I love your channel because you got a lot of content that you cover on there. And worms is backyard worm farms, something I got to build more of. I think this year, maybe with a little bit of your help, we could build something a little bigger and better than I built last time. I did like a 3-tier worm bin.
Okay.
And that worked really well, but I think it just wasn't quite efficient enough at separating out the different layers that I wanted. You know, we'll work together. Maybe we'll do a collaboration video or something on one in the future on what you found through your experience to be the best fit.
Sounds good.
Especially in Wisconsin, it's kind of hard because then I've got to keep them in the garage over winter. And that was a big problem, is because it got stinky, and then just not being able to really give them what they needed as far as temperatures go. You know, that's maybe some stuff that we could cover here in today's video, or when we do a collaboration video. That would also be really cool if we talk about stuff like that and different tips that you have that you found really, really helpful when growing. I do want to grow as many as I can. I'm thinking I want to do it like I did the 5-gallon buckets. If I could like double the size of that one, that would be ideal, because since we've got 5 kids or 3 kids, 5 people in total in the family, we do go through a lot of kitchen scraps. So we've got endless supply of produce, really. And then in the garden too, and all my trimmings on my trees and stuff, my leaves, I've got a ton of scraps for them to eat up. But I just don't think I had quite the ideal situation for us as far as keeping it over winter.
Okay.
So, you know, do you have anything you could give me hints on right now as we're talking on ways that you found to work good for you in the winter and keeping it over the winter months?
Yeah, the thing that helped me the most was living in the Midwest, and you know how it is. We had a couple years ago, it was like minus 50 one day, and then it went up to 50 degrees the next. So I lost my worms the first time because I kept them outside and they froze to death. Okay. And I was upset because back in the day, I spent like $40 for 2,000 worms. Okay. It was an investment. And what I did now, my wife's like, "You're not going to have them in the house." And I stuck them in, and I'd said that in a couple of videos, and now they're in the basement. And now I'm successful with my worm bins. But I'm thinking if I never would have brought them in the house, I never would have started another worm bin.
Yeah.
Because I knew I would have lost them. But I'm thankful that everyone figured them out. I realized that, like one of my videos, I said worms don't crawl out of the bin, get in your bed and stuff. And they found out that worms don't, mess with you. If they die, they'll, get on the floor and become, say, worm jerky, and you just sweep them up. Yeah. So I'm thankful that my family finally realized that they're not like monsters that the movies make them out to be. So, yeah, like I said, if I never brought them in, I would never have been like successful.
So bring them in, get a well-established. So the smell, how do you keep down the smell a little bit? Do you think that was possibly just some wrong ratios of green-brown content, possibly too much, not enough drainage on the leachate?
Yeah, I think mine died because it was more like the nitrogen and they froze, Maybe if it was just a Rubbermaid tote and it wasn't real big, so the worms couldn't expand and the bin would not heat up. And now I never had bad odors in my bins because I add a lot of brown and less nitrogen, grains, food scraps. So my bins have never smelled stinky. So I was thankful that I'd never experienced that. And the main thing I realized is if you don't overfeed your worms, you won't have bad odors. And also fluff it up, mix it up, to get the air moving. So, like I said, my bins, they don't stink. I have to put my nose in there. I'm like, okay, this smells good. It smells like black gold, fresh. You know how it is. But
nice composting soil. Yeah.
But I've watched, when I first started YouTube, I watched other people. They would put just, food scraps in their bins. And that would be just disgusting, And then, because they'd have like all types of pests and stuff in there. And, they had the black soldier flies that they didn't want and maggots and stuff. But my bin, it's got the more paper, less food scraps, and it's been healthy. And like I says, I don't have any complaints. So I can't say I've ever had any bad problems besides them freezing when it comes to
So that was probably my problem. I bet I probably put too much food scraps and not enough brown content in there.
Yeah. But always put more browns in because they'll eat that. They'll eat that's always an extra food source that I tell viewers. It's always best to underfeed than overfeed. But if you have a larger scale system, always add more food, But you gotta have more worms too, so you gotta look at the population as well. So it's a science. It's science. So you just figure out the ratio, and like Owen says, plenty of carbon brown materials help produce the smell usually. So, but I mean,
cool.
I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, I'm definitely going to buy another batch of them this summer so I can get a nice, well-established colony doing well. How do I wait, girl? Sorry.
You're fine. I understand.
So yeah, I do plan on getting another one going this year for sure.
Yeah.
So, it's just another great way that we can utilize all these different resources that we have around us. That's something that I preach on my channel over and over again. If you got something that you can make work for you, then by all means make that work.
That's right.
Like filling up garden beds. There's so many different things that we can use for that. There's so many different things that we can use as weed barriers, different ways that we can complete our landscaping without spending hundreds or thousands of dollars, just by using stuff that we have around our house, or different things that you can get out in your community for free, such as wood chips. That's something that I'm really big into, is using wood chips. And everything I plant has wood chips that I get for free from the city. They go through on their mulching days, they get the dump truck full of ground up wood chips from around the community. They drop it off for free. I've heard a lot of people say that that's going to introduce diseases, but I can also find almost no instances where that's actually happened. I've never had it happen, because as soon as I get those wood chips down, I'm inoculating mycorrhizal fungi. I'm getting fungi growing. I'm getting my own bacteria colonies. I'm getting my own stuff growing in there that's ultimately going to take over. Right. So it's like a little battle of good and evil. So if you can get your good stuff in there, that if that very, very small chance of anything happening from some diseased wood, well, it's already on the ground. It's already ground up. That established colony that might have taken out that tree is now being overran, killed, and destroyed by your own colonies that you're introducing. So I've had absolutely incredible luck with getting free wood chips, instead of spending hundreds of dollars every year, getting wood chips that were produced with pesticides, that were sprayed with colors, so many different wood chips. It's almost hard to find a natural wood chip that was sustainably sourced, compared to just getting something for free that would be dumped in a landfill, probably producing a lot more carbon emissions sitting in a landfill and rotting, compared to me consuming it with the microorganisms in my backyard, which then feed my plants from that, right? So I think there's a lot of pros to getting those wood chips for free from the community. So I encourage people, if maybe that's something that they were afraid of in the past, because if you go on Google, that's one thing that people will say is, granted, a lot of these people that write the articles are not the actual gardeners, but they'll say that I could introduce disease. But I've done a lot of research on it before doing it in my backyard. And for many years I've done it, and I've had incredible results. So I just encourage the viewers to do that, or to check out with their local city or village municipality, their public works department, to see if they will drop off some wood chips. Usually it's, once a week, they'll go through, chip them up, tell them you want half of a dump truck. They'll dump it off for free, because it's cheaper and easier for them to do it in town than to drive that truck all the way out of town and go dump it there. So a lot of times they're more than happy to help you out. And there's a lot of different ways that we can save money like that in the garden. So just kind of think outside of the box sometimes, just with using Rubbermaid containers, or using 5-gallon, granted, try and use food safe 5-gallon containers, but at the end of the day, a lot of the times it's still made out of HDPE, the exact same plastics that a lot of our food from the store comes in. So if you've got some stuff and not a lot of money, don't let money be the barrier to gardening, because by the time all is said and done, if you're growing your food in plastic 5-gallon buckets, there's almost none of that is actually going to get to your plants. Because again, like I said, a lot of the HDP plastics that are in the containers of the food you buy at the grocery store, it's the same stuff that I would recognize as just about food safe. So that being said, just don't let that be your barrier. Don't let money stop you, because while it might not be the perfect solution, it might not be the ideal long-term solution, at least you're going to establish those skills that it takes to become a good gardener over time. Because if you're not doing anything, then you're just not doing anything. You're not growing at all, and you're not doing yourself any good. Right?
That's good, man. So let's touch a little bit about homesteading, okay? I never really got into gardening as much now until I got into worms, and I found out what worms can do. And now I'm planting things. I got kale, cabbage, trying to plant corn, watermelon, growing so many things, okay?
Yep.
Let's talk about you. How did you get started, and how would you encourage someone to start a garden today? Because a lot of people don't have the property, which my yard is not huge, but I'm starting, and I got things going. So give me some advice for someone that would want to know how they could start gardening today,
Absolutely. Well, believe it or not, I don't have the space either.
Okay.
And I've only got 0.34 acres. So a small in-town village lot. If you can see, which way?
Oh yes, that's cool, man.
So those are my garden beds.
Okay.
I've got 9 right now.
Oh wow.
And then I also have a squash patch off to the side that I just lay down some weed barrier, put in my squash plants, my pumpkins, whatever larger vining plants that we're going to be producing. I put over on that patch. That weed barrier helps a lot because it's taking up such a large space. I don't want a bunch of grass growing through, so I can actually inspect my plants and make sure that they're growing healthy and prune them where I need to and whatnot. But I don't have a lot of space. Do I have an absolute set homestead? No, I don't. But are we on the expedition to build a homestead? Absolutely. And that's why I rebranded the channel actually a few years ago. We had called actually a year and a half ago, actually, I think. Rebranded it from Wisconsin Wonder Garden to Expedition Homestead because I thought that it embodies who we are and what we're striving to reach for and our long-term goals a lot better than just Wisconsin Wonder Garden. And that's why we called the channel. We decided to make the jump, and it didn't turn too many people away. We were afraid that they would be like, "Oh man, you were called Wisconsin Wonder Garden," but people don't care what your name is. They care about the content you're putting out. So we made that change because ultimately, within I would say our next property that we buy, we can't buy right now because just prices are absolutely insane these days. Am I right? Or am I right?
That's right.
And so I would say our next property within 3 to 5 years, God willing, sooner than that, our next property is going to be that homestead. It's got a couple of acres where we can actually have some livestock as well. We can get some goats, maybe 1 or 2 head of cattle, some that we can harvest some meat off of and some that we can milk. Goat milk, there's all sorts of different uses for that. We got chickens right now. I want to get 1 backyard goat, but I'm trying to convince the wife that it's okay that we call it a pet, and the village would be okay with that because I could say it's a useless animal or it's a pet, and that would be my workaround to the current code in the village.
Yeah.
Or we could even meet with the village about it and say, hey, I'm looking to build school programs and to get kids out here to show them what we can make in our backyard. Would you be okay with us having a goat? But stuff like that, we are planning on building and we are currently building, but I don't have a big lot right now. But off of those 9 garden beds and that squash patch that we have, we really didn't have to buy any vegetables last summer for the most part. Compared to what we have in the past, we cut down our food bill by probably like 65% ish.
Good.
How much we were eating from the garden off of those 9 raised beds. because we do succession planting. We do a lot of harvest of many different types of vegetables. I could just go through. We got carrots, turnips, radishes, beets, carrots, onions, broccoli, cauliflower, strawberries, rhubarb, raspberries, peas, beans, cucumbers, tomatoes, tons of tomatoes, kale, kohlrabi, and
spinach.
Nope, no spinach, but we do have three or four rows each year that we usually do of a lettuce and salad green mix.
That's
so
awesome.
we grow a lot of stuff in that small space. And it's what's very important is that we don't listen to what everybody's going to tell you about gardening, because I'll give you this secret. You can grow a lot more in a smaller space than what some people will tell you online, and even, I admit, on YouTube. Maybe even some of my videos in the past, I've given how-to videos on, the specifics of how much space you should have in this garden, how much spacing you should have for all these fruits and vegetables. But when it all gets down to the nitty and gritty of it, is we can grow a lot more food in a small space than what we really believe to, as long as we get some nice wind flow. If we're in a spot where we've got some good wind, a spot where it's not really, really humid. If you're in a very, very humid, Wisconsin gets pretty humid in the summer months too. But our goal is to get some wind movement in there, some not stagnant air. And if we have those, then we could really grow about 2 times the amount of crops than what we're told we can do by a lot of the mainstream articles that you'll read, especially if you go to Google and you go on the top 5, top 10 articles telling you how to plant those fruits and vegetables. A lot of them are not going to be giving your garden the maximum benefit, or your family the maximum benefit, because we can actually grow so much more than what we're being told through spacing and succession planting as well. So succession planting is for a lot of different crops. You can plant them out every couple of weeks, space your timing out. So I'm going to get my beet seeds in the garden, say late April, early May. So just about, a couple weeks before our last frost date, I'll put my first few rows of beets in. But then after that point, 2 weeks down the line, or a week and a half down the line, put another row. And then after that, 2 weeks down the line, we're going to put another row. And think of the timing that those beets are going to mature for us to get our harvest off of. That's going to extend that harvesting period, because we've got those nice early crops. And then we can then harvest those crops later and later and later, up until, it is when it does get too hot for some of our early spring crops, our brassicas and stuff like that. We're going to have a little bit of a harder time growing them, because they're going to want to go to seed. But succession planting can be very, very effective throughout most of the year in many parts of the country and many parts of the world. Even if it does get too hot where your plants are struggling, you could put shade rows over it. That's going to help lengthen your harvest time as well. And then, of course, comes July, August, depending on where you're at, there's earlier in some parts of the country, we're harvesting out our very first few rows or whatever. And that at that point, we can start planting those spaces with our fall garden. We can grow in the fall. Last year, I was harvesting out vegetables up until the end of October here in Wisconsin. It was freezing out. We had many days where it was under 32 degrees, and I was still getting beets. I was still getting kale. I was still getting my kohlrabi, my radishes, brassicas as well. You get broccoli, spinach, lettuce, all that stuff you can grow in temperatures that do drop below freezing. Now, you don't want to get below like 25 degrees, even below 30 is hard on them, but they can make it up to 25 degrees Fahrenheit, whatever that is in Celsius. I get yelled at on the channel all the time for not knowing Celsius. But, it's up 25 degrees, you can grow all that stuff. So, up until the end of October, or if you put in a hoop house over your vegetables as well, beyond that point, you can grow them even longer. So the reason why we're able to make a small area successful and so productive is that we use all of these different techniques, we put them together, and we create a well-rounded system that's able to produce a lot of food for us in a manner that doesn't take a lot of time or energy during the growing season, because we're so well established, because we use different things like wood chips and mycorrhizal fungi, living soil. All of those things do their own part in feeding your plants, giving your plants the nutrition that they need, stopping weeds with the wood chips, which are also going to break down and feed the mycorrhizal fungi in turn. Like, it is a constant evolving system that God has placed for us out in nature. All we have to do is replicate it. We've got to do what it's asking for. We've got to do what it wants. And we are going to provide better harvest, more nutritional food at a less time expense to us, because we're obeying those natural laws, because we're obeying the simple rules that we should be following instead of the rules that people have made up in their backyard gardenings. You know, they say that you should only grow so many plants in one area, or you should have one bed that's tomatoes and that's it, or one bed that's corn and that's it. You know, nobody listens to the Native Americans that grew the Three Sisters, if you're familiar with that. That's corn, bean, and squash. They all grow together. They feed each other. They work together as plants. They're companion plants that do better together than they do apart. So different things like that.
Good.
It's in nature for us already, baby. All we got to do is follow it.
That's awesome. So a question for you, man. That was some good stuff, man. You said something about the wind. What does wind do for your crops? Does it pollinate them or something? Or
wind, absolutely. It does help pollinate, but the reason why we want that airflow is going to stop disease from developing in our plants. The biggest problem with a lot of plants close together is going to be there's no airflow, so that humidity allows, it's going to condensate, it's going to build up on the plant, and that's going to affect eventually, if those plants are rubbing on each other, get a wound, it's going to not allow them to heal as well, and eventually could start developing disease in your plants compared to an area where we got nice amount of wind. Now, no, you don't need to be out in the middle of the field with a lot of wind, but it's just the fact that wind does help keep away diseases, and that airflow is what we're looking for. So if you're growing other crops that you can thin out and prune, like your tomatoes. So if you're growing tomatoes and you just let it go, it's going to grow into one big old bush. It's an indeterminate variety per se. You know, it's going to keep on growing out everywhere. You're going to have this big mess of vines and vegetative matter that can introduce disease because of that, because we don't get that airflow going through our plants. And that's why we want to encourage that as much as we can. So for certain plants, like tomatoes, we can trim, we can prune, we can single stem that, and reducing the amount of vegetative matter that we have that's going to be blocking the wind and stopping it. And also, in turn, it's also going to direct the energy of that tomato plant into all of the right spots instead of the wrong areas. Because at some point in that tomatoes plant's life, you know, we really want to be encouraging that fruit growth, that fruit development. So if we're growing nothing but a bunch of leaves, that is taking up energy from that plant. That soil is, that the microorganisms in the soil is eating your plants. It's going through the plant circulatory system and it's building greens, but it's not building that fruit that we want. So pruning tomatoes, very, very helpful like that. You can also prune other crops like your broccolis and stuff. If you've got a broccoli that's overtaking perhaps way too much foliage on it and not enough airflow, you're going to be able to help that broccoli a little bit by doing some pruning. You know, no, you don't want to trim off everything you got growing on that, but a little bit of pruning here and there does the plant good. Plus, it's also fun. It's one of my favorite things to go out with my little pruners and just give our plants a haircut. You can also do it with cucumber. Just about everything you can do a little bit of maintenance care, some pruning to get rid of a little bit of that vegetative matter to open up for some airflow that's going to reduce the susceptibility to disease in the plant. And it's also going to help our overall harvest as well.
That's good stuff, man. That's some, like I said, you're full of knowledge.
I love it. And thank you so much. It's been many years. I've had a passion for gardening ever since. Really, my grandma has instilled that in me. We went to her house all the time for 4th of July. They lived up in Tomahawk, Wisconsin. So 4th of July, holidays and everything were all there. But the big 4th of July event was going to my grandma's garden and picking out the fresh green beans were my number one, baby. I would go right to those fresh green beans. And having those experiences as a kid helped establish who I am today.
Okay.
And I would say that she was really a big influence as far as igniting that initial passion for growing. And then one year, my dad decided to do a straw bale garden too. And so I thought that was so cool. So I started looking up YouTube videos on it. And from there, it's just been this ever evolving journey of learning and growing through my own experiences and then learning through the experiences of others as well. And I kind of take it for granted, which is, one of the other reasons why I think that it's so important that I start sharing all this stuff with the community around me, start developing school programs where kids can start building their passion for what they're doing too. Children and the youth is a big passion of mine. And I think it's something maybe that skipped a generation, because a lot of my parents and a lot of people, AJ, a lot of people your age, maybe a little bit younger than you, I would say a lot of people right now who are in their 40s, I barely know any of them that actually go out and garden. Compared to 2 generations ago, everybody gardened. And the gardeners were the male gardeners as well. The male went out in that garden. He led his family. He provided for his family because it was not only essential, but it was a part of what you do to help sustain what you got going on, to help be that shepherd for your family. Growing a garden was a big part of that. Am I right? And
That's right.
So we don't want to lose that throughout the generations. We've got to build something that is going to be a passion for them. We've got to build something that's fun, that's experimental, that's not all about the rules, because gardening is way, way more important than the rules. I think I've expressed it in today's video that the rules really don't mean anything unless you try it for yourself and realize that, hey, this way doesn't work. But there's so many different things I found online that I've done the exact opposite of, just to see how it goes. And guess what? Most of the time, it works out fine. And so that's when we take those learning points and we take the different things that we've learned through that and we establish it in our own routine. And then we start sharing that with other people based off of our successes. I don't want to just be a parrot on YouTube. I don't want to repeat exactly what articles say. I don't want to say what other people have said, because there's a lot more to it. And I think we can become better gardeners. We can find out better ways to grow through that. If we always follow the rules will never change and results will never change. We should be growing. We should be learning. We should be striving to do something different in the garden, in our lives. And I think that sort of experimentation and that sort of excitement is what I need to convey to the youth, to get them a little bit more excited, which is why I really want to start building school programs in the near future to show them gardening, while it isn't easy and there is some basic principles that you need to follow, there's also a lot of rules when it comes to gardening that absolutely should be broken. There's a lot of concepts that should be taken away from what people are teaching, because there's just so much more out there that we can use if we really work with the system that has been put in front of us, this system that's already in place. If we can start working with that in more ways than not, then that's how we create a successful garden. And that's how we create successful gardeners and a culture around gardening as well.
That is some good stuff. My biggest thing, I got to figure this out. Like, say I have onions and things planted, I got to find out what I can. Once I like harvest my onions, I got to figure out what thing I can plant there. You know how they like
Carrots
down on stuff. So that's what I got to figure out. So I'm still learning the system with that.
Yeah, you pull your onions out. It's going to be, what time do you usually harvest your onions there?
This is my first time growing onions.
Okay,
So.
you'll probably be harvesting them. Did you get them out now? Maybe 90 some days from now.
Okay.
So May, June, July. We're talking in the end, probably the end of July.
Okay.
Sometime, yeah, probably the end of the July. Sometimes August for some of them. But at that point, you could even get some varieties that you'll harvest earlier than that. But at that point, that is a perfect time to start succession planting our cold hardy crops.
Okay.
Get the beets, radishes, carrots, peas, broccoli, lettuces, spinach.
Okay.
Get all of those things in there. You could even grow another set of onions in place of that.
Okay.
To start growing, right?
Yeah.
Being that you've got onions growing already, I don't know if there's any specific plant that would do better in that soil because of those onions growing. Yeah. But all these cold hardy crops, that is a perfect time. As soon as you get that first harvest out of there, even a little bit before, just shift your rows sideways a little bit, move on to the next space, use that space up for the crops that are going to come up. You could even get 3 harvests out of 1 year in one garden bed. We did that last year. We showed our viewers the different crops that we got 3 harvests out of. Our beets, radishes, turnips. We got 3 of them out of one garden bed on each of those. So you can grow several times throughout the year. It's just about planning that out and keeping in mind that during those hot months, we might want to make sure that we're not taking out, you're not going to be starting your seeds indoors. It would be best to start them outdoors, because if we transplant them, it's going to be very hard to harden them off and transplant them in the heat of the summer. But if we get a seedling that we're taking very good care of, we're making sure that that soil doesn't dry out, and it's going to do just fine. But that's the hardest part about planting in the middle end of July, is getting our seeds to the point where we don't have to water them as consistently as when they're first starting out, because we got to keep them very, very moist when they're young seedlings in the middle of summer, because if they don't, they're going to dry out very quickly and they're going to die on you.
Okay.
Wood chips is another thing that helps out with that, is because on all my beds, once my vegetables are tall enough or big enough, depending on if they're seeds that I start outdoors or if I start them indoors, I will take about an inch and a half of wood chips, throw them all over the top of the soil, and that's going to retain the moisture in the soil. You know, we might have had several days of 80-degree weather, dry, and everything else is dry around it. If I had a dry patch or empty patch of dirt, it would be absolutely completely dry up to my knuckle. But if I take those wood chips and mulch and I pull them out, I've got nice, wet, moist soil with worms all the way up to the surface, because they're feeding off of the bacteria, the microorganisms, everything that's in that very top layer right underneath the mulch. Those bad boys are feeding off of, and they're also going to be helping keep that soil a little bit more moist as well. So putting wood chips on your soil as a cover to help the microorganisms and to help the moisture content, that's really going to help out when planting your fall crops during the summer months. But you can absolutely, once you get those onions out, put something else in there, because there's a lot of different things that you can grow throughout the mid to end of summer into those fall months, up until, like I said, you can really grow a lot of things up until the end of October, and even longer than that if you decide to be really ambitious and get a hoop house or something like that on top of your plants to help reduce the harm being done from a hard frost.
That's good. A quick question for you. Checker X says, do you refertilizer when succession planting new compost?
Sure.
It's on the screen if you can see it.
Yep, I can. Yes, I do. So usually whenever I get my seedlings, if I've been growing these seedlings indoors, I will put in some fresh fertilizer. I really like Dr. Earth's. They've got like a pure gold. It's an all-purpose 222 fertilizer. The reason why I like that a lot is because they've got a ton of microorganisms inoculated in the fertilizer already. It's organic. It's sustainably sourced. It's a good company to be behind. Absolutely no bias for them. Not working with them whatsoever. But it's just a product that I've found to be very helpful. And they also have mycorrhizal fungi in that fertilizer as well. So the mycorrhizal fungi, if maybe perhaps your mycorrhizal content has been diminished throughout your planting season, when we get that in the soil, we're going to then rejuvenate that living soil, because if we don't have living soil, it's not a soil that's going to be feeding our plants. I could take chemical fertilizers and throw that on my plants all day long. Mm-hmm. It's not going to do anything unless I really get some living microorganisms in that soil as well. So a fertilizer like that is going to be really helpful. But definitely I do re-fertilizer when succession planting. And then throughout the year, I will take compost. If you've got worm castings, if you've got some well broken down compost that has been going for a year or whatever, if you've got that, then you can spread that over the soil, or you can mix it in with your seedling as it's time to get that into the ground as well.
JD, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you, brother.
I'll turn it up a little bit more. You're a little bit low.
Yeah, I can hear you, brother.
Okay, yeah. If you got any questions, go ahead and shoot them out, because Ripley knows his stuff.
Oh no, I just wanted to just say, yeah, I've started to do the same thing. I've started to feed my cat vegetables, and I mush them up. Because my cat is a carnivore. Yeah, like most cats.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I've started doing, I've just started mixing mealworm in, dry protein, and broccoli, and it loves it.
Very nice.
Yeah.
That gives you another reason to grow some more vegetables in the garden, right? If you've got animals that need it, there's more excuses to grow more.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I've got literally 12 cats. Like I breed cats, so that's my thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what I'm doing at the moment, I'm trying to wean them off meat and give them mealworms and broccoli. And once they die, they're gonna die eventually. I've got a kebab place around the corner, which I can just sell the cats to, and I can buy more mealworms. No, I'm serious. Yeah, no, I'm serious. Yeah, it's about putting back into the environment.
You know what I do with dead animals? I bury them in the soil and I turn them back into soil.
Yep, fertilizer.
Yeah, well, but the thing is, mealworms will eat protein and they'll become protein, like more protein. So I find it more economical to to just get it, instead of you can skip one step, which is the soil. You can put it straight back into the kebab industry.
Yeah. And I know mealworms eat everything. They eat meat, dairy, all that stuff. Because my number one video, I did it with my friend Dewey, and it's the soldier flies and those things.
Yeah. I've heard about that. Yeah, I've heard they've done real studies on that as well, and it's crazy.
Yeah,
it's crazy how much protein they're missing through that process.
Yeah,
it's it's quite negligence, I'd say.
Yep, there's so many different things that we could actually utilize as a resource that we don't, making nothing go to waste, because everything everything does have an importance. It does have a role
Yeah.
to play in this world, right? So if we
Exactly.
neglect that, you know, we're losing part of this system, this cycle that we're supposed to be, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, that's it.
Sorry.
Cool.
Sorry, sir.
Thanks.
No, thank you for stopping on the stream. You know, I appreciate you being here.
No. Thank you for allowing me on. Yeah. No, it's a really, you know, it's a really pertinent issue at the moment, especially, you know, especially with what's going on in the world. You know, we've got a war in Ukraine. We've got possible nuclear war.
Mm.
We need to really think about our resources, you know, and how we're going to put it back into the soil.
Yeah. I
You
mean,
know.
but even like look at like this baby formula. It's like that's something really important, and people can't get food for their kids. I'm like, oh, that's just crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah.
We got to prepare our own stuff, like the ants. You know, ants prepare for the winter and stuff. So
Yeah, ants, termites, everything. It's they're underrated. They, you know, they feed the soil, and it's very underrated. I find.
Definitely understand. But yeah, once again, thanks. If you haven't, please like the video so we can get it out there more to people and share it as well. You know.
Yeah. I've got a group of friends who the ex-military guys, and they're really into this type of stuff. You know, they're trying to tell me without saying too much. You know, because they're active at the moment. They're trying to tell me that you know, the higher up people, they're onto this stuff. They know things are gonna really hit. You know, the shit's gonna hit the fan soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's rough. I mean, we all need to, you know, keep everybody in our thoughts and our prayers for what's going on. Our church right now, we're doing, we call it the Wisco Ukraine project. So we're getting together with as many local businesses that we can to put together. We're putting together a couple of shipping crates that we are filling up with all sorts of goods and supplies. Baby formula being one of them that we're trying to get. But we had a week where we've got everybody together to get proteins, everybody to get carbs, everybody to get baby supplies, you know, all these different things that we're putting together on 2 shipping crates, sending them directly over there where they can be put right into the hands and the families of those who are displaced from this horrible act of evil that we're just witnessing, because it's such a scary thing. And my heart just goes out to everybody that is dealing with that right now. I can only imagine how scary it might be. And we just want to show as much love and support as we possibly can. And that was one of the ways that we found God was calling us to do that, is just let's get some products over there. Right. I mean, I'm not even kidding. No other parties. We know somebody who was a missionary over in Ukraine for 16 years. And so he's got direct ties to the driver who will be driving those shipping crates directly into the communities who are without power, who are without homes, who are moved out from their homes, who now cannot find food, water, so many different things that they're displaced from. So being able to be a part of that has been it's been challenging. Believe it or not, it's been hard to get people to donate supplies, because a lot of people still are scared about what their own welfare is going to look like in the near future. You know, none of us really know. But all I know is in the meantime, we are being provided with everything that we need. So I'm just going to do as much as I can to support them, because right now they're living without anything.
Well, another thing I've been told by you know, the non-commissioned you know, agencies, shall we say, they've been saying along the whole time, they've been saying we need to get cockroaches involved. You know, cockroaches can convert waste products into protein, and the protein can be moved to places where it's needed.
For sure. Yeah.
You know, and it's you know, it's vital really at this stage to just get these
in the future,
this protein moved. You know,
I think there's going to be a lot of in the future that use for protein.
Yeah, cockroaches.
I hate cockroaches.
But hey, AJ, once it's ground up into a nice protein bar, you won't know any
It's not
different.
hard to eat them. God, they're ugly insects. Ugh. Especially those big ones. Ugh.
Yeah. Nobody wants to eat cockroaches, but you
if
know
you're starving, you got to do what you got to do. You know.
Yeah, but you know, if you just dry them out and grind them into like a meal.
Yeah, no. Yeah, what you don't know will hurt you, I guess. Yeah, grind them up, put them in some chocolate, I guess. Or deep fry them.
There's got to be some way to. I think grasshoppers, right? Grasshoppers.
Yeah.
Cricket.
Awesome. Crickets.
I used to raise I tried raising crickets for a little bit because I had some bearded dragons. You know, those were fun.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they would eat up anything and everything.
Wow.
Yeah. No, yeah. I had a couple of them. Do you know what? I've got a good friend. Her name. She's got a channel called Mel88. You might want to look at. Yeah, Mel88. It's MEL with no space and then 88.
Okay.
She grinds cockroaches up and she eats them herself.
Ooh.
She's actually, she eats them herself.
Man.
she's got bearded dragons, but she eats them herself. Really.
That's some dedication, I'll tell you.
Yeah. She's very dedicated. She's an amazing person.
Yeah.
She's really she's dedicated to the cause. She's always doing fundraisers for disadvantaged people with retardation, things like that. Because she's a bit retarded herself, you see. So she's quite retarded, but in a nice way. She's, yeah,
different, unique. Yeah, that's awesome.
Oh man.
Hey, AJ, I gotta start wrapping it up pretty soon because we gotta get the kiddos to bed.
Yeah, no, I understand.
I think we didn't cover nearly enough stuff for this to be the end of it for our live stream. I don't know what you would call it, but just our little experience here. I don't think we covered nearly enough stuff.
Yeah, we'll get together.
We'll plan on doing this again in the future.
Yeah, but let's just do this real quick. Let's talk about, if you got like 3 minutes.
Yeah, say another 5 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever.
Yeah, 5 minutes viewers will end this stream. Thanks for everyone for watching. All right, let's talk about this collaboration. Okay, if you're a viewer and you want to collab, let me know. I love doing collaborations. As long as you have great feedback to the community, we can get together. But you said you reached out to big YouTubers.
Yep.
And they never replied back to you.
Never.
Then you looked at me. Go ahead.
Yeah. So our conversation, I talked about that. I just found it mind blowing when I was trying to build my channel. I thought, hey, a good way to do this would be by going on some bigger YouTubers' channels and share my experiences, because I know for a fact that they're going to be different from the experiences that they had, and that's a way that we can learn and grow together, right? So I reached out to literally several dozen channels, and some of them at the time still only had, 75,000 subscribers, so nothing major.
Yeah.
And a very well written. I'm great at conveying the message that I'm trying to portray, so I know I put out a good message there. I was being very kind and welcoming and loving, and still, man, I didn't get any love back whatsoever. And so just not having that, it made it a little bit harder, I would say. But that's why when I looked, I was like, you know what? Why don't I try and do whatever I can with whatever knowledge I have, with whatever different ways that I can contribute? Well, let me reach out. And you were the first one that I reached out to actually in this. And, I think it's a great way that we can build communities together. We can share viewers. Some of my viewers will hop on your channel to check out some more of your worm content. Some of yours are going to hop over on my channel. I'll share my screen really quick.
Yeah.
Do that.
Yeah.
Let me see. Share.
And I try to stay humble. Even if I had like 100,000 subscribers, I would still want to be humble.
Do you
as
see my
well.
screen?
Yep.
All right, right here. So I'm developing a website right now, expeditionhomestead.org. If anybody, if you want to be on my channel, we can do a StreamYard.
It's awesome.
Go over under our videos channel or our videos page here.
Mhm.
We've got this apply button. It's not quite working yet. I'm still working. For some reason, this YouTube, my coding for this YouTube player doesn't work out.
Mhm.
But we've got this. Oh, that doesn't work either.
Mm.
Building a website is not easy, I'll tell you what.
Yeah, I believe it.
We've got this contact section where people can contact us or just email us at expeditionhomestead.org. And I'm sure they can just go over to your channel too and comment on yours or email you.
Yeah.
You know, don't be afraid to reach out to people
That's
to
right.
try and get on these live streams, because in the end, if they're a good person who's trying to build a community like both AJ and I are, we'd be more than happy to have somebody who is going to provide us with some good content and some good information for everybody else, right? So AJ has really, I think you were putting a bigger push on some more of these live stream events. I'm looking forward to being on some more of them with you as well. It's been a lot of fun, I'll tell you what.
Thank you, man. Appreciate you spending your Sunday to get connected. You know, tell your wife and family thank you for allowing you to step away for about an hour and a half. And
Yep.
like I said, let's do this again. You know, we'll keep
Absolutely.
in touch and, you know, keep supporting each other, you know. And
cool. Sounds good, man.
keep praying for each other because we all need prayer.
Yep, absolutely. Can we end in a word of prayer?
Yeah, go ahead.
Say a prayer quick?
Nothing wrong with that.
All right, awesome. Dear Lord, I just want to thank you so much for this time that we were able to spend together. We pray that lives were touched by the words that were conveyed in today's message, in today's live stream. I want to pray for anybody out there who is struggling right now around the world. We pray your guiding, your strengthening, your empowering hand be above them and be all around them, Lord. We pray your presence will be in their lives wherever and whenever needed. We thank you for everything that we have today, everything that we will have tomorrow, and thank you for your constant presence in your life, Lord. We just pray your blessing upon all of these viewers tonight, God. We thank you. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. So I want to thank all the viewers for watching tonight's live stream. Check out Ripley's channel, Expedition Homesteading. Subscribe to his channel. Subscribe to mine if you already are not a subscriber. And we'll do it again.
Absolutely.
You know, I wish everyone to have a blessed week, and thank you again, Ripley, for your time.
Thanks, guys. As always, see you in the next episode.
Have a good night, everyone.
Have a good night.